I'm bored. Let's take a look at a comment that accuses me of shilling for billion-dollar corporations. Okay, so before I debunk all of this, I want to say this isn't the first time or the last time I'm going to see a comment like this from this person. Yes, I'm using this specific comment for today's video. But this is a normal defense I see in comments and during live streams when they're trying to protect their grift daddies. When they want to protect their grift daddies, this is what they do. You're just shilling for $1 billion corporation. Why are you defending $1 billion corporation? Capitalism, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so here, I want to put this in perspective for you guys. We all live under capitalism in the United States of America, whether we want to or not. It's the system we exist in. Whether you work for McDonald's, Walmart, Disney, it doesn't matter. We're all playing by the rules of capitalism. So it doesn't matter if you want socialism, you want communism, whatever other system you want, it doesn't matter. We play under the rules of capitalism. Okay? That's on the table. So the reason why this isn't a proper defense of any sort of criticism or me jumping in and calling them out on lies or whatever, the reason why this doesn't work is, say for example, you have somebody working at McDonald's. And that person at McDonald's is being treated unfairly on the job by a bunch of people, customers that are going in there, treating them unfairly and just making their life a living hell while they're working at McDonald's. Me or anyone else jumping in to defend that person or the job that they are doing while they're at McDonald's is not de facto defense of McDonald's. You see how stupid that is? It's defending individual workers, defending people involved in the working process, in the workforce, who happen to be working under capitalism, because we all do to some degree in this country. Okay, so using this defense is really stupid. Criticizing them for being liars does not equal defending large corporations. This is a cope response. It's you coping with the fact that calling out their lies with actual facts and information, you have no real response to that. So you're just like, why are you defending multi-billion-dollar corporations? Which I think is really funny, okay? Disney as a company, let's go ahead and get into this. Disney as a company, and all companies that are capitalist companies, value profit over everything else. Ethically, there's always going to be issues with the companies out there. You would have to boycott everything, right? So if you have an issue with capitalism, if you have an issue with that system, in order for you to make a stance against it, you would have to boycott everything. Everything. Google, Walmart, McDonald's, Burger King, Pepsi, Coke, Netflix. You would have to boycott everything. You wouldn't even be on YouTube using YouTube if you truly had an issue with any sort of engaging with anything that involves capitalism. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of capitalism. I've never defended capitalism. Matter of fact, I've been very critical over the system and how it's used in this country on many streams. But the reality is, this is the system we have. Next, I want to address the fact that I've never been critical of Disney or Warner Brothers or anything like that. That is just an outright lie. That's just not true. If you really wanted to hit back at Disney, you wanted to go after them as a company, you wouldn't be talking about the people working for Disney, the people who are not part of Disney's corporate structure, because you want to go after Disney for their corporation, not for the people that work for them. That is anti-worker. It's anti-creative. That's not what you should be doing. Disney is a $250 billion company. You think a couple of movies failing here and there is going to hurt that company? Do you think going after Rachel Zegler the way they did and treating her like shit for years? Do you think that's affecting Disney as a company, or do you think it's affecting Rachel Zegler as an actor? Which one is getting more harm there? Disney having one movie that doesn't do well with her in it, or her being attacked and harassed for every property she's making? Which one of those things do you think is the bigger issue? What about Brie Larson? What about any other myriad of actor that these channels have attacked over the years? Directors, writers they've attacked over the years. How much of that has affected Disney as a billion-dollar company versus them as individual people? So it's not just about Disney. It's not just about Warner Brothers. It literally is a concerted effort to go after individual people. Let's take a look at what you could go after Disney for, because there are scandals out there. Here's some of their greatest hits. They had a huge wage lawsuit that ended up with a $233 million settlement. They agreed to settle a long-running class action lawsuit over failing to pay Anaheim's higher wage, local minimum wage. And this report describes it as one of California's largest wage and hour settlements. You can read about this, Los Angeles Times, Voice of OC. There's plenty of places you can look this up. They had a gender pay class action that had a $43.25 million settlement. They had a sexual harassment misconduct allegation involving senior executive John Lasseter back in 2018. They have several times had to deal with OSHA violations. Like tons of that. They paid so many fines on that. It's not even hours and hours and days of looking that up. Tons of lawsuits alleging discrimination. One of your favorites, Gina Carano, right? Failure to accommodate disabilities, wrongful death, ADA claims. There's been tons of maintenance and overtime lawsuits. That's just some of them. That's just some of them. Those are actual things you would criticize Disney over. You wouldn't go after the individual workers of a company. And then when those workers get defended, you're like, oh, you're defending the company. Disney has a track record of being awful to their employees. If these channels were doing that, if Nerdrotic and all these other channels focused on talking about how badly they treat the people working for them, how badly they treat their writers, their actors, directors, blaming Disney as a company for their failures, because keep in mind, they're the ones paying the people to do the things they're doing. If that was their focus, I wouldn't have to debunk it because there would be nothing to debunk. The problem is that's not what they do. They find an actor, a director, a writer, an artist, someone that's involved in the working portion of it, the working class elements of it. They're not in charge of they're not the big folks making the decisions. They're just working for them. When you spend months and months and months, hundreds of videos attacking individual people and doing so with lies, misinformation, disinformation, when you're making videos with racist stuff in it, trying to accuse people involved with making the movies as being DEIA and all this, and really just smearing their names, things like that. When you're doing all of these things, it does not hurt Disney as a company more than it hurts the people they're going after. I give a fuck about creative people. I give a fuck about marginalized communities. I give a fuck about all these people out there trying to make a living and trying to put some art out in the world. Is it always going to be good? No. And that's not what I'm saying either, because I know that'll be the next thing in the comments. Oh, what if it's not good? If it's not good, it's not good. And that's fair. You can have a criticism about that. But going after them proactively because you have a problem with Disney as a company is unethical, and it is no better than the capitalistic system that we exist in. So no, I'm not defending Disney or Warner Brothers or any of these companies. They're all capitalistic, awful companies to work for the most part. I am calling out the liars and the bad actors and all of the bullshit they do that makes life harder for the individual people, whether it be people here on YouTube, the systemic issues we have with communities, or it be the people that are working in the industry that are trying to make art, that are trying to make a living. That's what I call out. If they were actually doing what you think they're doing, which is attacking the corporation of Disney, the corporation of Netflix, the corporation of Warner Brothers, if that's actually what they were doing, I would have nothing to say about it because it would be objectively true. It would be something in black and white. There would be lawsuits. There would be allegations. There would be things out there that they could go after. But that's, and when I mean everyone that says this, that's not what they're doing. So if you want to go after Disney, have at it. But go after Disney. Go after the corporate end of Disney, the side that makes the decisions, the side that does everything for money. If they want to leave the actors alone and stop attacking them, I would have nothing to debunk.